Hello everybody, it's Scott O'Mato, and in this video we're going to look at kind of a hidden gem of a mod, and it's called Muon, okay? And it's for 1.10, 1.11, and 1.12, but those base versions, so it's kind of hidden a little bit, right? So let me go to the CurseForge page, and basically it's called Muon, which is a strange name. You know, the name doesn't relate to what the mod is, but what it does is it corrects the placement of village buildings. Okay, it makes better paths, makes sure the doors align with the ground, and it just overall improves the layout of villages to a huge degree. Okay, but again, it's kind of hard to find because its name. It's only in 1.12, although it does work in 1.12.2 and 1.11.2 and 1.10.2. But if you search in the Twitch launcher, you're not going to be able to find it if you're in a 1.12.2 mod pack, for instance, because it's 1.12. So you'll have to come to the site to get it, and you'll have to manually add it to your mods folder. Okay, so you'll have to download it when you go into files, and then download the version that you want, and go to your mods folder and add it to it. Okay, it's not available as a selection when you browse for mods. Okay, so that makes it a little hard to find, and it is in alpha version, so it's got some known issues where it doesn't actually do it perfectly in all the alignments. There's some cases where it can fail. That's known to the author. He would love to improve it, but it's 1,000 times better than vanilla, guys. I tell you, it's 1,000 times better. So let's just take a quick look at what it does, for instance. Okay, so here's a village. I have Mo villages here, and I'm using the Neo Beta world type preset, customized world preset. So it kind of amplifies things a bit, gives it a more of a beta type feel in the structures. But when you use like Mo villages that places villages all over the place, then they can get really derpy in their placement. And so this, for instance, you'll see this sometimes in vanilla, but this does it much better, to where it will raise all of the village buildings to a ideal level. You can see they're not all at the same level. They do have pathways that can go up, but it will be sure that pathways can align to the doors as best as it can. So if you walk through this village, then all the doors are lined up along a pathway and accessible, so the villagers can get in and out of them. Gosh, vanilla villages can be so derpy to where you have to dig it out. Buildings are broken and all kinds of stuff like that. Like you can see that this goes along a side path to give you access to the blacksmith. So it's very nice because, like I said, sometimes villagers can get trapped outside of buildings. Like if a villager's trapped in a building, you may have seen it before, they'll try to help that villager, and they'll all gather along the side of a building and try to get in, and you know, it'll be night and all these villagers are outside and there's zombies and stuff. It's just bad. Okay, so this kind of corrects that. Like, let's look at another village over here. This one's a taiga type village that's on multiple levels. Okay, so again, because of Neo Beta, we get some nice different elevations, but you can see that it's laid out quite well along here. We get nicely along the path, get our fountain in a good spot. This world's still loading here, so let's let it load a little bit. And we get our doors. Everything's nicely aligned. Very cool. Really improves your world generation, especially with a more beautiful preset like Neo Beta here. You can have the best of a lot of worlds. So it also seems to handle trees along paths pretty well to clear them out. And so there you go. You got a nice one. And then the farms and stuff will have different elevations or whatever. It'll do its best to create bridges and stuff that make kind of somewhat sense, but you know, something like that's just kind of isolated, and it just is what it is. But let's go and take a look at one in Extreme Hills. Teleport over to that. I think I'm in the ground on that. Yeah. Okay. Can just cut my way out. Oh, sorry, guy. Oops. He's down in the hole. Sorry, man. Did not mean to do that. But anyway, so here we are at Extreme Hills Village, which is using stone bricks. Looks pretty nice. But again, it makes logical sense in how everything's laid out. So all the doors are lined up, and we get some paths. Stairs are kind of doing the best that they can. We got multiple elevations. Again, Extreme Hills can be extremely derpy, and the church doors lined up. That house is. The farms are kind of doing the best that they can. We have some at a higher elevation. The paths are trying to connect them and making pretty good sense in doing that to this isolated house that's at the top. Then we have a trailing off path that goes to the top like a lookout almost. So again, works out quite well for the style of village and lays it out very nicely, as best as you could expect. Here's one in a forest over here. Okay, so again, this one's at a more flat elevation, but pretty well laid out. Once again, here the blacksmith is perfectly aligned. That's nice. So all those work correctly. And it just makes such a big difference, guys. Such a huge difference. See, but you still get nice levels of elevation. Everything's not just flat brought to the same level. So it's still kind of interesting to look at. And of course, if you could get things laid out in a good path where you don't have to do a lot of work with them, it's easier to put walls around them and things like that as well. So let's go over to a Mesa Village area, and I'm going to show you some other things that it can do, actually not in this village, but in another one. We're going to look at the configs because it will also align like structures like desert temples and things like that as well. Bring them to the ground. So here's a Mesa Village with terracotta, and again, laid out nicely. And of course, these are added by Mo Villages, just to be clear about that. It's not vanilla stuff. Added by Mo Villages, but everything's laid out nicely. We're still get some interesting path layouts, but everything is nicely aligned. So there's a Savanna Village over here somewhere. Let's see where that guy is. Over here. Okay, let's fly to it. It gives us a desert temples fairly near it. So here's a Savanna Village with the gravel, and again, quite nicely laid out. Again, we're going up a hill now here, so everything's laid out logically along a path. Quite nice. So far it hasn't failed. I mean, it will have some issues occasionally, but again, look what it'll do here with desert temples. Okay, so a desert temple, it raised it up. It raised the base up to be sure that it's aligned at a place where you could get to it, where you could just walk in. So your desert temples are going to be much nicer in their layouts. They're not going to be so deeply buried that you don't see them, or you have to work so hard to get to them. Now, again, that can change your perception because sometimes it's fun to uncover the desert villages and stuff, but that's all in a configuration. So we'll look at a configuration here in a moment. And let me just fly back over here to the Mesa Village here, and then let's look at some of the configs. Okay, so the configuration file gives you options to where you can turn on the better paths feature. That's the one that gives it nice paths. You can choose to enable features of a new version by default. There's not much reason to really do that. It's false by default. Again, it hasn't been updated since around April. So we'll see. The developer's still active on the forum, and so they're still around, but they just haven't put the time into it. And hopefully they'll at least bring it up to like 1.12.2 so it can be found. Because I haven't found any significant problems with it, nor is there significant issues reported in GitHub about it. So, just do a release or do a beta release. And, there's a few little problems, but it works really good. Fix scattered features. This is enable scattered features like the desert temples or igloos. See, so you could turn that off if you wanted. You could make that false, but I think it's actually pretty nice to do it. Smooth terrain within village boundaries. Yes, do that. fixed buried doors, yes, please do that. Now you can also choose if you want to add a grove of trees to a village, and then the frequency that it would do that. By default, it's set to 0. So I don't know, you could set that to 10 or something and try it out and see what that does. But anyway, I think that is an excellent addition to Minecraft Villages, especially if you're using more beautiful and interesting world types like Neo Beta that are more subject to derpiness in structure generation. And again, if you're just aware that it is an alpha version and there can be some little issues with it, it won't always be perfect, but it is so much better than vanilla, what vanilla can do already. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that. And this is Scott O'Mato, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye-bye.